Shockwaves have been sent across the globe. The domination of the empire is possibly going to end. Welcome to another episode of Sports with Monga. This is the qualifying Singapore Grand Prix reaction. Before we jump into it, guys, I request and I hope you will subscribe and like this video and do share with your friends. I've realized 90% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. It would make me really happy if you subscribe, hit that subscribe button and help me grow the channel. We jump into it straight away, starting with the whole weekend as a whole. The weekend as a whole, you felt Red Bull was struggling. The FP3 looked a little more confident. They had brought some parts to the floor in FP1 and FP2, which did not work. They possibly had removed those in FP3, where the car felt more comfortable, and you could see Max and Perez on the limit, and also kind of in the positions where they can challenge in the qualifying. But one man, in my opinion, one team, in my opinion, which was on top of it from the minute they started the Singapore Grand Prix, was a Ferrari. Scuderia Ferrari, coming from a high in Monza for Carlos Sainz, finishing P3, and Leclerc P4, coming to Singapore with some level of confidence, but some level of belief that this is possible and they can kind of do it, and they can try and dethrone the champions, almost the unrivaled, unparalleled domination of Red Bull Racing. And that's what we saw. We saw a dominant performance from Ferraris, from Carlos Sainz. But let's jump into Q1. Q1 starts, and you have a shocker. And the main taking point of Q1 is the Stroll crash. He crashes out, bringing out the red flag. A very high impact crash. The car does not have a the left part is completely gone of the car. The front part, the front wing, the chassis possibly is damaged. The floor is damaged. I think there's a lot of damage on that car. Lance Stroll completely misses his braking point, understeers and straight into a high impact right before the end, like right before the start finish straight. He is in the wall, brings out the red flag. He is okay, and that was the most important thing. But then he took out some really interesting people in the Q1 because of that crash. I think the most important, or the biggest shock in my mind, was Oscar Piastri, because Oscar Piastri or the McLaren looked really kind of on point, but he was right behind Lance Stroll, so he was caught out with that red flag. He came out in the pen in the press conference after the race, after the qualifying. He said it was not his best, but it was enough for him to get into Q2. And I believe that it was a possibility that he could have gone into a Q2, but then that was not the point. Lance Stroll's crash meant Zhou Guanyu, Valtteri Bottas, Logan Sargent, Oscar Piastri all out. One thing we have to talk about is the Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo has looked so slow throughout this weekend. So I think they might be the ones that end up with, unless there are crashes and people getting out, but they might be the bottom of the race as well, in my opinion. Logan Sargent, he has been caught out. Now, this is the main point. I think this is what I want to spend like a couple of minutes talking about. I have been saying that Logan Sargent needs to be replaced by Williams. The reason is Williams are on an upward trajectory, and Alex Albon is driving the socks off of that car. He's not leaving anything on that car that he's eking everything that he can from the car. But Logan Sargent, he has been given leeway by James Vowles, by the team, by the media. They're saying that it's just his rookie season. It's his first. We have an equal example of Liam Lawson. It's his third race. He has not even had a season. It's his third freaking race for Alpha Tauri, and he finishes in P10. He finishes in Q3. Of course, we'll talk about like how and the dramatic try from like Red Bull dropping the ball and stuff. But Alpha Tauri's Liam Lawson is able to do what Logan Sargent has not been able to do for Williams for quite some time. And that's what I feel, that Logan Sargent is now being caught out pure and simple on performance and pace. He does not have the pace on a car which is and can push boundaries for Williams. Enough of that. I would say let's jump on to Q2. Q2 qualifications were pretty interesting. And a shocking. It was like, what? I was like, I was pinching myself. Like, is this really happening? Is Max Verstappen really out in Q2? He is not going to make it to Q3. That was just amazing to watch. Max Verstappen and Checo Perez. Checo Perez just made a couple of errors in the starting of the lap. Like he spun around because he's felt, and later he said that the engine kind of cut off for him, and then when it came back, it kind of gave him a understeer, an oversteer, and he couldn't just kind of counter both at the same time, and then the car was just completely spinning. Max Verstappen on the radio was not happy. He basically described it as a shocking experience. In the pen, he said it was undrivable. He said it almost felt like the gains that they had made in FP3, they pushed it over the limit, and now the car was completely in unknown territory. The rears were sliding all over, and you have to understand it's a street track. The rears are really important. You need to feel the car will turn when you want it to turn. If your rears snap, it will be a lot more issue for you to kind of overcorrect or correct from the front. If your front is pointy, and as Max Verstappen loves to have a car which is pointy and it turns, and if the rear is snapping, he will not feel comfortable, because it is almost like feeling that you are facing this one direction, but then your rear is not going in that direction. It is still in some different motion. And that's kind of what I feel Perez and Max have felt. But then shockwave sent the chance for Red Bull. If they had a perfect weekend and Mercedes did not have a good weekend, it was one chance for sealing the Constructors' Championship for Red Bull. This race in Singapore. It's far from that right now, in my opinion. I think they would be happy if they get some points, because it's so hard in the race to overtake. This is a street track. You don't have a lot of overtaking spots. But then Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez out in Q2, 11th and 13th. Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda, the three remaining drivers who went out in Q2. Not a lot to talk about. Yuki felt he was impeded, and he was possibly. But then it was interesting that till now, I'm recording this video almost late night of Saturday, or like Sunday early morning. And this has not been, there have been no reviews done. There have been no penalties given. And I felt there were some slam dunk penalties for Max Verstappen for impeding Yuki Tsunoda. It was interesting from the FIA's documents as well. No representative of car 22 showed at the FIA stewards summon. It was so interesting. Conspiracy theories going completely mad and wild, that because AlphaTauri is a sister or is owned by Red Bull, why would they kind of challenge their own parent team? And that's kind of what I don't believe. I think there was something with the FIA not able to summon them early enough. But, well, you can say whatever you want to say, but this is what happens. Let's jump into Q3. And one thing we have not talked about is basically the man who pushed Max Verstappen out of Q3 was none other than the myth, the legend of Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson does the job. What a moment would he feel? He has not been driving this car, and he comes in to Singapore Grand Prix to knock out the World Championship leader right now, Max Verstappen, from the Singapore Grand Prix qualifying in Q3. Wow, what a moment for Liam Lawson. I think he will remember that. But that makes him notice. Everybody will notice this now, that he did not. It could have been like he would have just played it smart if he wanted to kind of love to stay at Red Bull and still. But then now this might have been like one of those moments where he's like, guys, I want to put the best. I will do the best. It would have been amazing to see the snapshot of Helmut Marko when Liam Lawson knocked out Max Verstappen, his favorite driver. A good day in the office for Gunther Steiner. I think there will be a lot of swear words, but all in the happy tone, and possibly a call to Gene Haas to saying, we look like fucking amazing. Sorry for my language, but I just had to do it because it was Gunther Steiner. But both Haas drivers getting into Q3, maximizing possibly the race that they've been looking at to kind of maximize the point. Of course, it's a different race. The degradation would be different. Car characteristics would be different. But then P6 and P9 for the Haas cars in Q3. Esteban Ocon getting the Alpine into QPA as a PA driver. He felt that that was the maximum that they could have done. Of course, his counterpart in Gasly in the sandwich of the two Red Bulls finishing P12, but Ocon had a good race after a dismal Monza. Alonso P7, and that was really interesting. He came on the pen and he said, if I had driven the same car the whole day, I would not have finished higher. So he's basically saying he has eked out everything that the car has, and the team now needs to figure out what they want to do with the car to kind of improve and push. They have come out publicly say they want to finish P2 in constructors. They want to catch Mercedes. It's not far away, but then the consistency lacks in Aston Martin right now. Whereas if I talk about the Mercedes, P2 and P5, Russell out qualifying again. Hamilton at Singapore. That's the main point. Singapore has been the home turf of Mr. Lewis Hamilton. He has won all Singapore Grand Prix, and he's never started at pole. He has started at pole, but then he has won from back positions, not starting at pole. But then it will be hard for him to kind of win from here. But then George Russell, take a bow. What a lap. Getting that car to kind of the difficult car of AMG, Mercedes, Petronas, F1 team to kind of get this into P2 and like in the podium positions already, like starting in the front row for Russell. That was amazing. He has talked about this. I will reiterate, George Russell has said that qualifying is his forte. He lacked it because of some reasons. He has corrected it, and that's what is showing now. He has got the confidence back into himself for getting into qualifying and out-qualifying one of the greatest drivers that we have seen, Lewis Hamilton, who finishes P5. One man who has been like quietly chipping away, and I think he is now being under notice. Of course, Piastri's result puts a little bit of a spanner on the McLaren plans, but seeing why he went out, but then seeing the P4 of Lando Norris for McLaren. Oh my God, that was amazing. That was a lap. I think he was just out by 7/10 or like 3/10 or something to Leclerc. And yeah, but I think Lando Norris in that McLaren looked rapid. They've bought some new parts to the race. Possibly that will help them in the race tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, take a bow, Fred Wisser. Take a bow, Ferrari, Scuderia. They are the ones leading the pack here. P1 and P3 starting grid positions for both the Ferrari drivers. Carlos Sainz, as I said, is a man possessed. He is on a mission right now to kind of prove everybody that how good he is. Charles Leclerc, I think if you're a Charles Leclerc fan, you have to feel sad. You have to feel that when the team is in the ascendancy, you are not the driver leading the charge. Carlos Sainz has out-qualified Leclerc, with a dominant performance in FP1, FP2, FP3, and now in qualifying. But Charles Leclerc can come back. It's about the car is difficult for Ferrari in the race, and they know that Mercedes can maintain and have a better race car. But then with two Ferraris on top, can they trouble Russell? Or will we see some fighting between Ferrari boys? There have been talks that there was discussions in Monza after the after the race, and they have talked about it. But I don't know what the mandate or what the team order, will there be team orders? Will they be allowed to race again? But maximum points will be the main idea for Ferrari and Carlos Sainz to put his Spaniard and possibly go for a win, because it's very hard. If you're starting from pole, you have 90% chances of winning. Everybody that has won from pole. You just need to put your mind to it and have a clean race. There will be a lot of chaos in my mind in the back, but if you have a good race and if you have a clean race, it's yours to win. And that's the wrap up of the Formula One qualifying Singapore Grand Prix. Red Bull struggles, Ferrari tries to wrap up, gets his Ferrari is back up. I think, in my mind, Ferrari gains. Red Bull struggles and Ferrari gains. That's the kind of the message that I want to come out of this. But Mercedes are the dog horses. They can always spin out something. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the qualifying? The race will be exciting in the lights, in the night, in Singapore. Hope you liked the video. As I said, do subscribe, do share, and do like. Come on, guys. 90% of you guys who are watching this are not subscribed. Hit that subscribe button, support this video, and I catch you in the next one.